Hello everyone and welcome to this week's lecture on ISM 415 Special Topics. In today's class, we are going to be starting the second topic in this course, and the topic is Conversational AI. In the next 4 weeks, we are going to be studying Conversational AI in detail. We'll see how to build chatbots and deploy them across various platforms. At the end of these 4 weeks, you should be able to build your own chatbots and deploy them across any platform of your choice. Sounds interesting, right? So let's get started to see our agenda for this course. In this course, our agenda is very clear. Okay, first, we try to understand what conversational AI is, right? Why are they important? What are some of the shortcomings of conversational AI? Then we get started to creating our own conversational AI, which is chatbots in this case. Okay. Of course, millions of people all over the world communicate through a medium called conversation, right? Now, conversation can be through voice or through text. Have you ever asked yourself what happens if a machine decides to converse with a human being? Well, we're about to find out. So, what exactly is conversational AI? In a nutshell, conversational AI simply refers to the use of messaging apps, speech-based assistants, and chatbots to automate communication and create personalized consumer experience at a scale. So let's break this down. Refers to the use of messaging app. All of us know what messaging apps are, right? Like your WhatsApp, your Facebook messengers. We also know what speech-based assistants are. If you are using iPhone, you are familiar with Siri. If you are on Android, you already know what Google Assistant can do for you. Now, when you leverage on those power of those messaging apps and speech-based assistants, what you are simply doing is you are automating communication, right? And you are creating a personalized customer experience at a particular scale. So what you are simply doing is you are making use of conversational AI. Does that make sense? Now, these applications enables you to have a long-running interaction with your customers, and these interactions can be via text or via voice, okay, which is driven by a technology called natural language processing. For those of you taking ISM 416, you've already seen what NLP can do for you. Okay, so this conversational AI is driven by natural language processing and natural language understanding, which is in fact a subset of natural language processing. Okay, so now, seeing all this, of course, you agree with me that conversational AI has been around for quite a long time, right? Maybe not with that name, but it has been around for some time now. So let's take a look at some of the brief history of conversational AI for us to better appreciate this technology. Okay, now the first chatbot that was created, of course, chatbot is an example of conversational AI, right? So the first chatbot that was created was Eliza. It was created in 1966 at MIT. Now, how does Eliza operate? Eliza simply operates by recognizing keywords or phrases from input to produce a response. Okay, so let's take a glance at this screenshot here to see what Eliza does. First, Eliza welcomes you and say, okay, you are not really talking about me, are you? Starts with a question. And when you say what, Eliza simply say, what do you think? Now he identifies this keyword here, what, and is able to structure out an expression, a response for you, right? And if you say, I mean, I feel to be writing right now. So Eliza captures mean from your statement and is able to structure out a response for you. Okay, so you can see how smart this is. But Eliza was based on what we call decision tree. It was hard coded, so using lots of if statements, if else statements, which all of you are familiar with, right? So this was far back as 1966. Okay, so fast forward to 1995, we have a new champion with the name Alice. Okay, Alice was created in 1995 by a scholar, Richard Wallace. Okay, now in 1995, Alice became the first chatbot to make use of natural language processing, which allows it to make sophisticated communication with customers or users, right? So let's take a look at the conversation to see how Alice is able to structure out a conversation using natural language processing. Okay, so if a user log into Alice and says, hello Alice, Alice will simply reply, hi there. The user says, how old are you? And you can see the response from Alice, I'm 18 in computer years. So you can see how the chatbot is able to understand this human language and manufacture a response from it. Okay, so this is quite interesting, right? Now, it might fascinate you that during this period of growth in conversational AI, companies started looking for different ways to better serve their customer, right? So because companies are always looking for ways to retain their customers. So in order for you to retain your customer, you need to look for better ways to better serve them, isn't it? So companies started looking for better ways to better serve their customers, right? And this is dominantly in area of customer service, right? They want their customers to be able to communicate with them via voice. Okay, and the biggest invention during those period was in 1973 when IVR was created. Okay, so how many of you are familiar with IVR? Well, I'm sure every one of you is familiar with IVR. I'm just going to describe it. Okay, so IVR is simply the technology when you call a customer center in, say, Airtel or MTN or 9Mobile, and you hear, for English press 1, then Kanaji Hausa press 2, for Igbo press 3, and so on. Okay, so in summary, the traditional IVR is simply like, okay, I call a coffee shop, for instance, and I order a cup of coffee, and the service bot will simply ask me, would I like a donut with my coffee? And I will reply, donut will be fine. The bot will be confused and ask, sorry, I don't get that. Can you say that again? Then I will say, a donut will be good. I would like a donut with my coffee. And the chatbot will be more confused and say, I don't get that. Please, can you repeat that again? And the scenario continues going on over and over and over again until it leads to this. So many of you that use IVR, maybe you've called MTN customer care or Airtel customer care, you can relate to this, right? So the reason for that is because we try to build our bots in a way that is rigid, right? We usually expect the customer to say either yes or no. So your bot is looking for a yes or no answer. So if you fail to give it a yes or no answer, you run into problem. Okay, so the IVR basically is built with decision tree, which is not a very good algorithm to build your bot on. So that is why what we are trying to improve using the new technology. Okay, so in order for us to really move from the past to the present, we need to try to understand why some bots really fail. Okay, so let's look at some of the reasons why conversational experiences fail. Okay, so the first one is that the artificial intelligence is still not accessible. What do we mean by that? People are still making use of decision trees in trying to build a customer assistant, right? A chatbot. They don't make use of artificial intelligence so that the bot can better communicate with the user. All right, they continue building using the if statement, if else statement. So if the user says anything outside the box, the bot will automatically become confused. So this is one of the major reasons why some bots fail. The second one is that use cases are still not that strong. So you can agree with me that many companies still don't know why they need a bot, right? They don't know the reasons why they should deploy a bot on their website or to assist customers. So the use cases, companies are still not identifying this important use case for building conversational experience. So that's the reason why one of the reasons why conversational experience has failed over time. Thirdly, some bots lack transparency. Now, in talking to a bot, right, if there is a detailed description that this is actually a bot, okay, and these are some of the things the bot can do for you, the user's expectations will change, right? But one of the major reasons why conversational experience has failed is because some bots lack transparency. You don't know if you are talking to a bot or if you are talking to a human. So the user's expectation remains the same, right? So that is one of the major reasons why some conversational experience has failed over time. Fourthly, some bots don't understand context. Context is very important in conversation, even in human to human conversation. If I walk up to you and ask you, what about tomorrow? What will be your response? You'll probably say, what are you talking about, right? So the reason for that is that you don't understand the context, right? So some bots, this is one of the major reasons why some bots fail. For instance, if I have an appointment scheduler bot, for instance, and I say, okay, what will be my day like tomorrow? The bot will say, okay, your day will be so 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 and so, right? And if I ask, what about next week? I expect the bot to understand that I'm still talking about my day for next week and not maybe what I'm going to eat or something else. So that is why context is very important. The bot, once there is no proper understanding of context, okay, in a conversation, the bot is destined to fail. The fifth one is they don't communicate with existing business system. Okay, over time you have bots doing their own thing, not representing the business well, right? So by the time you have a bot communicating with the business domain, the human agent there, okay, you have a well functional bot. But most of the time you have bots doing their own thing, so which is one of the reasons why the experience in the conversation between the bot and the user fail. Then the sixth reason is the bot try to handle many things at once. Okay, you see a bot scheduling appointments. You see a bot asking user for data, solving users problem, doing many things. Okay, so you agree with me that with the saying as well that jack of all trade is also a master of none. So it's better to have one single bot that performs a particular task and does it perfectly than have one bot performing multiple tasks and is not good at solving any of the problems. Finally, some of the bots lack proper human escalation protocols. Okay, this is very important. If a conversational experience is not able to um, link up with the human agents in the business so as to further serve their customer, the conversational experience is bound to fail. For instance, if you are communicating with a conversational AI messenger, for instance, and along the line you hit a rock bottom, right? You cannot move on with the conversation. A proper conversational experience messenger will simply link you to the human agent in the company instead of repeating a particular flow. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you repeat that again? And many more. Okay, so these are the reasons, some of the reasons why conversational experience has failed over time, and this is some of the things we are trying to um, solve using the new technology. Okay, so now conversation is the new user interface. This is very true because we communicate with each other using conversation, right? And now we are going beyond that, beyond communicating with each other through via messenger, via voice call, and etc. Things are coming online these days, like your shoes can connect to the internet, your fridge can also connect to the internet, which are all part of internet of things, right? You have self-driving cars and many more inventions. All this cannot be settled using the normal graphical user interface. Okay, so that is why using voice is now becoming the new user interface. So you can just wake up in the morning and tell your Google Home to start making coffee already. Your Google Home will connect to the kettle and many other kitchen utensils and start making your coffee. Okay, you can enter your car and ask your Google Drive to maybe take you somewhere to play music and do many other things. So all these are conversation driven. So conversation is becoming the new user interface. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the statistics. According to Accenture, it says that 80% of customer interactions can be resolved by well-designed bot, which is so true. Okay, if you have a well-designed bot for performing a particular task, it can solve 80% of customer problem. Okay, then from Ovum we have that 60% of customer want easier access to self-serve solution for customer service, right? These days is very convenient for us to serve ourselves, especially when trying to shop online and doing other things. It's quite tedious trying to wait on the queue to maybe talk to some customer agent or talk to an IVR. Okay, any customer can serve themselves if properly given the avenue to do that, and conversational AI offers that, right? Then finally, in our statistics for today, this is from Gartner. He says 50% of enterprise will spend more on bots than traditional mobile app development in 2021, which is next year. So you can see the vast opportunity that that awaits you once you complete this part of the course. You learn how to create your own, build your own bot that makes use of sophisticated tools like the natural language processing and natural language understanding. You can make so much money in 2021. So I'm hoping you are looking forward to that, right? All right. Now, let's look at the use case of conversational AI. Okay, so we have many applications of conversational AI in business, in travel, in, you can name as many as you want. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at today is that conversational AI connects business to customers. Okay, so instead of having human agents everywhere, right, talking to various customers and having the customers to wait on a queue like structure, you can build a conversational AI that can communicate with thousands of people at the same time without breaking down, right? So the one of the use case of conversational AI is simply to connect business to customers via medium like the customer service and the e-commerce, okay, which is very key for businesses. The second one we are going to look at the conversational AI is simply used to control IoT devices. Of course, you know IoT is short for Internet of Things, and you know devices here and there are coming online, right? So instead of having to download apps to control those devices by pressing some one button or the other, you can use conversational experience to connect with those devices via voice. Okay, and this could be controlling home entertainment like your television, your radio, your music, etc. It could be controlling automatic devices like your self-driving cars and many others, right? Now, thirdly, one of the use case also is that conversational AI connects business to employees. Take for instance that you are employed in one company like that, and you have to go through, let's say, 500 pages for you to know when you are expected to get a leave, or how your KPI is being measured, and many more. So this could be a tedious task to overcome, right? So this is where conversational AI comes into handy. So you can build a conversational AI that stores the organizational knowledge, so any staff can uh, easily ask the uh, chatbot for any information of their choice, right? So you can do onboard help desk. Okay, so just open your conversational experience and request for any information of your choice, provided you are an employee in the company. Okay, so why is conversational AI so important? Let's look at it. One of the key thing here is that customers really have high expectations. Okay, so we consumers really have high expectations. We want to be served round the clock. Okay, as you can see from a statistics in 2018, 64% of customers or consumers want to be served 24 hours. Okay, then 55% want to get instant response, so you don't have to maybe request for an information from a company and have to wait like 12 hours or few hours to get your response. Cause consumers really want fast response so that they can move on with other agendas, right? Also, 55% of consumers as well answer to simple questions. That is, they want fast answer to simple questions. So you don't have to say, um, you don't say I need this and you get a complex answer to your question. So 55% of consumers really want a simple answer to their question. Then furthermore, 51% of consumers as well want easy communication. Okay, there is nothing like having complex communication. You have to do this, you have to press one, press two, press this for you to even get started with solving your problem. So it's easy. It's very important for you to have a conversational experience that offers easy communication to consumers. Okay, then 43% of consumers simply want their complaints to be resolved quickly. Okay, you don't have to wait for 4 working days to have your problem solved, right? You can just get it solved in few minutes of conversation. So that's what consumers want. In fact, 43% of consumers, right? Then another 43% of consumer simply want a good customer experience. So you call your favorite company, for instance, and you request for a product, they want to be served well. Okay, so the customer experience between a business and the consumer really matters in trying to retain the customer, right? Then 33% of consumers as well want detailed and expert answer to their problem. Okay, so you don't have to uh, give a consumer an information that is not relevant to the question they asked, right? And we also have that 35% want answers to complex questions, right? So if they ask some complex question, they expect you to give them a simple answer that is useful, right? Then finally, 32% of customers want friendliness and approachability. Okay, so you don't have to uh, communicate with your customer like, who are you, what are you doing here, uh, what can I help you with, and so on, right? So friendliness in conversation really plays a key role in trying to retain your customer. Then the remaining 8% says none of this, right? So you if you follow me closely, you realize that I often interchange conversational AI and conversational experience, right? So let's try to define conversational experience so you don't have to uh, uh, fall into trouble um, interchanging one for the other, right? So conversational experience is simply any voice or chat interface that relies on natural language understanding, NLU for short, for interacting with users. Okay, so this conversational experience is simply not based on static tree like decision tree and writing a flow control statement for uh, conversing with consumers. Okay, it's simply the use of natural language uh, understanding in voice or chat interface. Okay, so and you can decide to call it conversational experience, or you can call it conversational interface. You can call it conversational US, which is short for conversational user experience. You can call it conversational app. You can call it voice bot, or you can call it chat bot. So you can see a detailed example of it here. Okay, you can use voice and you can use text, right? All right, so we've seen what conversational AI and conversational experience are. We've seen some of the shortcomings, right, and things that we want to improve, right? We've seen why conversation is the new user interface. Now let's look at the technology behind the conversational AI. Okay, so we have two major technology behind conversational AI. The first is natural language processing, which some of you that are doing um, ISM 416 are already familiar with. In yesterday's lecture in NLP, we looked at named entity recognition, we looked at part of speech tagging, okay, and yeah, and many more, syntactic parsing and stuff, right? So we have NLP as a major technology driving conversational AI, and we have a subset of it, NLU, natural language understanding, also driving conversational AI. So we've looked at summarization in our NLP class, where we use the Jameson library and many others. The rest we are going to look at them as we progress. So the major technology behind um, conversational AI is simply natural language processing and natural language understanding. And in natural language processing, we have some key terms here. We have the named entity recognition, which is simply trying to recognize keywords or phrase in a statement, right? We have part of speech tagging, which simply categorize words according to their parts of speech. We have text categorization, which is the use of machine learning to categorize text appropriately. We have syntactic parsing and many more, and machine translation. Then under NLU, we have things like summarization, dialogue agents like chatbots and stuff. Then we have sentiment analysis, which categorize users' expression into positive or negative sentiments or neutral, right? So these are the two major technologies that are driving conversational experience. And we have one more, which is the automatic speech recognition, which takes care of the speech, the text to speech and speech to text as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this beautiful looking chart here. Okay, so we'll take a look at this diagram to see where all this technology falls under, right? So you can see that we have AI as a universal set, right? We have machine learning as a subset of artificial intelligence. We have deep learning as a subset of machine learning. I explained this in our first topic of this lecture. Then we have NLU, natural language understanding, natural language processing, automatic speech recognition, mostly inside the machine learning and deep learning. Hence, we can really say that this conversational experience falls under the data science workflow. Okay. Now, let's look at the cool stuff. What does it really take to build a good conversational experience? So far, we've talked about the shortcoming of conversational experience, that AI is still not in use, people are still not identifying some important use case to build on, and many more. So what does it now really take to build a good conversational experience? So let's look at it. First of all, you have to understand the intent. Okay? Intents are simply the verbs in your dialogue. Just as the name implies, intents are simply the intentions of your user. Okay? So for you to start building your chatbot or conversational experience, you need to have written down some of the intentions of your user so that you can build your chatbot with it, right? So for instance, if a user say, I need my coffee, what's the intention? To simply get coffee, right? And what if the user says, my laptop is broken. So what do you think the intention of the user is? Well, it's easy. The user simply wants a tech support, right? So intent really matters in trying to build a very good conversational experience. You need to understand your intent, which is trying to understand the intentions of your user, what your user is going to ask for, right? The second thing you need to take note of for you to be able to build a very good conversational experience is to understand entities. Okay? Entities are simply the nouns in your dialogue, right? Now, what we mean by that is your bot should be able to identify a human, you should be able to identify a name of a place, you should be able to identify dates and many others. Okay, so if you can make your bot understand entity, if you can integrate entity in your conversational experience, you are getting ready to building a very good conversational experience. Okay, so for instance, if a user says my name is Lily, the bot should be able to identify that Lily is the name of a person and not a bird or something. So if a user says April 4th, 2017, your bot should be able to identify this as a date and nothing else. Alright, so that's why entities are very important. Then also we've made mention of context, which is very important. Okay, context simply enables your chatbot to keep track of where the user is in the conversation, so you don't have to have a break in conversation as a result of not taking account of what the user have said previously. Okay, so making use of context allows you to build a better conversational experience. Now, let's look at some of the tools we can use to build good conversational experience. Okay, so we have many libraries in Python that enables you to build good conversational experience. We have the natural language toolkit, which is short for NLTK. Okay, we have the Jameson library, which is used for topic modeling for humans, right? We've used this to summarize article in our NLP class. We have the Spacey library, which is a one of a kind natural language processing library, okay, for performing bunch of tasks, right? Like tagging parts of speech, doing sentence segmentation, and many others. We looked at this in our yesterday's lecture in ISM 416 as well. We have core NLP, and we also have text blob. So these are some of the tools you can use to build good conversational experience. So, but like I told you, in this part of the course, we are going to build our own conversational experience with little or no code. That means we have to look at other available options, right? So that is why we have Dialogflow. Okay, Dialogflow is a platform which is powered and owned by Google now. Initially it was called app.ai. Okay, so it enables you to build your conversational experience and deploy them across different devices and platforms like websites, your messengers, your app, and it also supports multiple languages, right? 20 plus to be precise. So we are going to be making use of Dialogflow to build our conversational experience and make use of Dialogflow as well to connect them across many platforms of our choice. So let's take a look at some of the benefits of Dialogflow to the user, right? So the first one is Dialogflow built faster, right? You have, if you don't want to build your own agent from scratch, you can leverage on more than 40 pre-built agents okay, which also contains small talk, right, to get started with building your own experience, right? So you also have that you engage users more efficiently, right, using world-class natural language processing and world-class natural language understanding technology is able to engage users, try to understand what users' intents are, and better serve the user, right? Then finally, one of the benefits of Dialogflow as well to user is that it has maximum reach. It enables them to communicate across different countries and continents because it supports many languages. You can also deploy them across various platforms. For instance, you can contact your chatbot via call. You can contact it via SMS, via social messaging platforms as well. All right, so we've looked at Dialogflow, right? So let's take a look at the steps we are going to take in building our own conversational experience. First of all, in order for you to build a world-class conversational interface, we have to take these 7 steps, okay? The first one is you have to identify the top user journey that could be automated. You can't just wake up one morning and say you want to build a chatbot for your company. You have to really identify a journey that could be automated. So once you are done with this, you build a business plan. Okay, how is the chatbot going to function? What are the things you need? How is it going to connect to existing business? How is it going to connect with customers, agents, and stuff? So once you have this sorted out, the next thing you have to do is you design a persona. Okay, in designing a persona, you simply indicate what the bot can do and cannot do. So having this will enable you and also make the user understand what the bot can do and cannot do for you. Then fourthly, you have to write a professional script. Okay, so the best way to communicate is to communicate, right? So if you don't know how to communicate with others, chances are that you cannot build a bot that can communicate with customers as well. So you have to write a professional script for your communication. Then the fifth step you're going to take is to connect to backend enterprise system. Okay, so this is very important. Let your chatbot or any conversational experience you intend to build represent your business well. Okay, this is very important, else you are not really doing the right thing, right? Now the sixth one is to build a POC and collect feedback. POC is simply short for proof of concept, right? Just to, okay, in other words, what POC simply says is you can build a prototype first and test it, collect feedback, and see what to improve in your conversational experience before really deploying them for full business use. Then the seventh step you do is to connect to human agent system for human intervention. So for some of the problems that your bot cannot solve, you simply connect to the human agent for solution to those problems. So this brings us to the end of this week's wonderful lecture. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Next week we are going to start building our own conversational experience. We'll build our first bot, which is a pizza ordering chatbot. Okay, we'll see how to deploy them across various platforms, and you are going to enjoy it. So until we see again next week, enjoy conversational AI and stay safe. Bye.